Hi, this is Aaron from Inside the Skev. I hope you enjoy this next episode. If you want to listen live, tune in Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. to WCGO. That's 95.9 FM, 1590 AM, or WCGOradio.com. Facebook Live at WCGO's page and Inside the Skev. To learn more about this great town and what I do, go to skevinston.com, and you could always contact me at aaron@skevinston.com. Now sit back and listen to this one message from one of our supporters, and we'll start the show.
Reading, writing, and math are a struggle for a lot of students. At BrainLinks, we know those skills are what paves the way to independence and success. Our specialists will help your child develop the habits they need to make sure they thrive not only in class, but out in the world in general. And of course, for everyone's safety, our lessons are done completely online. For more information on our team members and to schedule your initial consultation, visit brainlinksacademics.com. That's brainlinksacademics.com.
Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today, we are going to talk theater and how to support the theater. So we're joined by Jennifer Green, the Artistic Director of Piven Theater, and Ellen Placey-Wadey, Program Director for Chicago Artistic Vitality and Collections from the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation. So these are some very important organizations that support the arts. The Piven Theater is a household name here in Evanston. And the Donnelly Foundation supports many cultural arts all around Chicago and around the country. And we're going to learn about that, why it's important, and really how they've adjusted to this past year. Because the creativity that the arts brings is so important and vital, but it really made them shift a lot. So, but Jennifer, thank you both for joining us today. But Jennifer, if you can give us a little bit of background on yourself and the history of the Piven Theater and what it means to Evanston.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here. My name's Jen Green. I'm the Artistic Director of Piven Theater. I, in many ways, grew up at Piven. Like so many people who work here and teach here, you can start off as a student as a child student and grow into an artist in your own right, or a teacher in your own right. But Piven is celebrating its 50th anniversary in Evanston, which is an incredible milestone and an incredible commitment to the Evanston community. For those who are new to us, we are a producing theater as well as a training center, teaching theater games and story theater to kids, adults, emerging artists, professional artists, people who just want to understand a little bit more what they can do as a creative person in their own lives. So it's very open to someone who's never taken a class before. It was founded by Bern and Joyce Piven, and they started teaching one class, and that has just grown and grown and grown. So now we offer year-round programming. We serve about 1,000 students every year with a big commitment to the community. Last year, before the pandemic, we were able to give about $50,000 worth of scholarships to make sure that we are a program that can be open to everyone.
Wow. So it's very, very inclusive. And I mean, you've had some really quite amazing people come through the different programs that you've done. Can you tell us, who are some of the alumni that have gone through the doors?
I think people who might be household names would be Joan Cusack and John Cusack. They were in the very first Piven class, neighbors of our founders, Joyce and Bern. But people like Aidan Quinn, Lily Taylor, people like there's so many. I mean, Lisi is back on television, just doing incredible work on the Roseanne show. Mm-hmm. She's someone who was with us as a young child and has really grown into her own as an adult performer. But one thing that we're proud of is it's not just these pretty amazing celebrity alums who are award winning in all of these different ways, but it's really our commitment to every person and seeing that every person makes contribution to their community. So many of the most incredible alums that we have, you wouldn't know their name, but they're teaching in your community. They might be at your kid's school. They might be, I mean, we have a lot of people who are really interested in social justice and activism, all from the kinds of storytelling classes that they learned as kids at Piven. So you can take Piven into any area, into any career, and we're really proud of that.
Oh, for sure. And of course, you have Jeremy Piven, who came through here
Yes. Oh
too.
my goodness.
You got the
Yes.
Piven.
Yes.
And I
I
love Jeff
that
Garland too.
Yeah, Jeremy Piven, just an incredible person, grew up at his work at the workshop. And also his sister Shira is an incredible director, writer, filmmaker, and also doing really wonderful, wonderful work.
Yeah. No, but I think it's so important that, like you said, it's not just the celebrities that came through here, but I think that speaks to the quality of what it can teach you. And, certainly you have to have talent to be successful in this industry, but I think, you bring out that creativity and that training. So it's very, very cool. How long have you been involved with the theater?
I have been involved with the theater off and on for 20 years. I was a kid taking classes. I cut my teeth and directed my first professional show at Piven. And I was lucky to do a mentorship program through the Theater Communications Group. And it allowed Joyce and I to do succession planning to make sure that the founder's voice is strong and our mission continues to be what it has always been. Even if there's a new artistic director, we were able to keep what's so important, the quality of the work and the quality of our storytelling intact.
That's amazing that you're able to do that. And it just shows how there's a vision here for this to continue on for generations, which is so key. Now, Ellen, your foundation supports a lot of the arts. Why do you support Piven, and how long have you been involved with that, with the Piven Theater?
Well, Piven Theater is one of our longest standing organizations that we've supported. I think it's probably 13 or 14 years. It's a long time. The focus for our work with arts organizations is we're really interested in the small organizations where people kind of come up. Mm-hmm. But also they're important because they're the places for artists who want to stay in Chicago and Evanston, want to continue to practice their work. We don't always like losing our talent to the coasts. We like them to stay around here if we can keep them. And these are the places where artists of any age can continue to grow, can continue to stretch themselves and express themselves. And so for us, we really focus on those smaller organizations. The other big part of it is most of them are deeply engaged in their communities, deeply engaged in their neighborhoods. It's, they're part of the fabric of what makes a community great. And that just improves the quality of life. It gives folks things to do. It gives a place where kids can go. That's all super important to us. So that's the reason why we focus on these small groups.
And when you talk about small groups, like what's the maximum budget of an organization that you support?
Sure. It's budgets under $1 million, which for some folks that might seem like that's a lot of money. But I will say that usually with $1 million, up to that level, an organization might have anywhere from 2 to 5 people who are working both full and part-time. So these are smaller organizations. When you think of some of the bigger theaters that people know their names of, those are multi-million dollars, tens of $1 million organizations. So these really are those community-based storefront. Some of them are in, kind of community buildings. Their theater sizes tend to be anywhere from, the smallest can have a 20-seat theater, believe it or not. Not the kind of places that we're going to these days, but hopefully we will soon.
Hopefully.
And on the bigger side, maybe 150-seat theater, but, these really are and that's also part of it. These are very intimate experiences. These are places where you can feel the energy coming off the stage. You can feel the energy from the people sitting next to you. And that's one of the things that, again, why we support the arts. And particularly in times like now is we know these are places where people connect. And those connections can be from people who might never see each other otherwise, might have completely different viewpoints of the world. But the arts is a way to bring people together and have an experience together and remind us that we really are connected to each other. And that's really important.
It's key. I think that there's going to be some I don't know, if, reacclimation, I would say, of people going around each other at a certain point over the course of this year. And the arts, I think, are going to be vital to just being able to allow people to express themselves. And like you said, like be in the same room together and kind of socialize in many ways. Ellen, what are some of the other notable theaters that you guys support throughout the Chicagoland area that people would recognize?
Sure. Wow, we have a bunch of them. So I would say Rivendell Theater, Steep Theater. I'm thinking of ones that are kind of closer to the north side and on the Evanston. We do Chicago metro area, so Congo Square Theater on the south side. We support a theater, Aguijón Theater, which actually does theater in Spanish only, but they do have super titles. So for someone who has, not the greatest Spanish speaking skills like myself, you can kind of half listen and read along at the same time. About Face Theater, I mean, at this point, I think we're up to 50 or 60 organizations that are theaters. So pretty much any storefront theater that you could think of, if their budget's under $1 million, it's highly likely that we're supporting them.
And are you in continuing to increase how many places you support? I mean, how do people, ask for help if they have an organization like Piven?
Sure. So we're a general operating funder, and we have an open door policy, which means you just go to our website, gddf.org, and on there's a link to an application. One of the things that we do ask is that, and it's been a little tricky this last year, is we want to come and see a performance. And the reason for that is we're a partner with our organizations. We stick with folks for a period of time, usually a very long period of time. Often it isn't until they graduate over $1 million for those theaters, we're with them. So for us, it's really important not only to see the work, but to see the organization in context of their community. We want to see who's coming, how they're engaging with those folks. Again, it's important to us that we understand art as being part of a community network. And we want to see both what's going on stage, but also what's happening around it.
That's key, that you want to make sure that what you're doing, you're putting your money into, supports the mission of the founders of your organization, I would assume.
Absolutely. I mean, Gaylord and Dorothy were huge supporters of the arts. Really, with any family foundation, usually when you see what they support, it's a reflection of the family's values. And for, as we affectionately called them, Gay and Dot, they were invested in the arts. They're invested in land conservation and also in collections.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more after the break. And stay tuned. Hi, I'm Aaron Masliansky, longtime Skokie and Evanston resident, host of Inside the Skev, and local real estate expert. As a community connector and realtor with Dreamtown Realty in downtown Evanston, I know firsthand what makes the Skev such an amazing place to live. When I'm helping my clients buy and sell properties inside of the Skev or out, I'm doing it with the best technology and support team behind me at Dreamtown. During the pandemic, I've been able to help my clients seamlessly stay on track with their home search. From immersive 3D Matterport tours, professional photos, to virtual open houses, my clients can find their homes safely and comfortably, and even from their couch. When you're ready to make a move, know that I'll be here to help. You can always find out more about me at skevinston.com/real estate. Again, that's skevinston.com/real estate, or email me at aaron@skevinston.com. Welcome back, everyone. It's Inside the Skev. We are talking with Jen Green, the artistic director of Piven Theater here in Evanston, and Ellen Placey-Wadey, the program director for Chicago Artistic Vitality and Collections from the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation. So we've talked a little bit about the history and of the Piven Theater and how the foundation supports them and other theaters around the Chicagoland area. But Ellen, you were talking a little bit about the mission of the founders of the foundation. They don't just do the arts; they also do they support other things as well, right?
Yeah, we also support land conservation and collections, and we fund here in Chicago and in the Low Country of South Carolina. So again, family foundations often reflect the values of the family. And for the Donnelly family, they believe these three particular areas are essential to our understanding of ourselves as humans, and for a quality of life. So that's why they have really invested in this. And they fund in the Low Country as well, because that's been a long-standing landscape. The family has had a home down there since the 60s, as well as being from here in Chicago.
So they live in both places and they go back and forth, or the family?
The family, now we're into third generation from Gaylord. So, they're kind of all over the country at this point with definite roots here in Chicago. And then we also have non-family board members on our board. So we do have other folks from Chicago that are on our board helping make decisions.
Got it. Now, Jen, I want to talk a little bit more about the theater and, what you guys do. And I know you talked, it's education, you're putting on performances, you interact with a lot of people throughout society. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, what we started doing is looking at how we can start community conversations. So we started deciding on a theme for the year. And for the pandemic, curiously enough, our theme was resilience. So we had to really live that theme in a lot of different ways. But we chose resilience because Evanston as a community was working on trauma-informed practices to create a more resilient Evanston. So we saw this to be a community conversation that's already happening. And then we curated a season of artwork around it. Our lab season is dedicated to new works and emerging artists. And so we had a whole variety of performances based on that theme. And then what's also really important to Piven, and something that unfortunately we haven't been able to do in the pandemic, is pair artwork with different community organizations so that we can have talkbacks with our audience as part of the evening and part of the process. Because it's not just sort of seeing the wonderful transformation of artists on stage, but it's that internal transformation that we're really hoping our audience members feel and connect. We talk a lot at Piven that the answer is in the other person, and being able to see the actor's eyes on stage is incredibly important for us in our 70-seat house, but it's equally as important to look at your neighbor and who is sitting next to you in the audience and engage in a conversation with your neighbors as well. We're within the Noise Cultural Arts Center, which is it's a hidden gem of Evanston. It's visual artists, it's music artists, there's other theater companies, but it's an arts building that tries to create these conversations. And as we celebrate our 50th year here, we're hoping to start those kinds of community talkbacks again once we're able to all be in the same room.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Now, the community talkbacks that you're referencing, is it that you would, and I think you said this, you would go to the places, to different places throughout the community, do a performance there, and then have the talkback with the people at that community? And if so, what are some of the places that you would go to?
Well, the piece that I'm proudest of was our last main stage within our identity season. And that was the season before the pandemic. And we did the US premiere of a play called Hopelessly Devoted, which was an incredible piece Jeff recommended, but a brand new piece about bringing art to prison and the kinds of personal and community transformations that exist. And as we knew that was going to be our capstone, this fantastic play, what we decided to do was to really highlight the work that we do in Cook County Jail. We have a program working with women in maximum security. And before the pandemic, we would be doing weekly classes and then curating those classes into open performances for other women who live on the tier, as well as visiting guests as well. And what we were able to do was to bring this really beautiful play there. So it was something that was on our stage in Evanston, and we brought that to the rec room at Cook County Jail. And it was really meaningful to see, to have the students in our Cook County class interact, play games, take a class with these professional artists, as well as see the quality of their work before them. And it created just, wow, incredibly moving conversations about art, about family, about isolation, and about who we are as we wait. A lot of the women in Cook County Jail are waiting for trial, and how do you still find practices that are meaningful and connect you to your humanity while you wait in this isolating circumstance. So, I mean, that's sort of a perfect example of a meditation, an artwork, and connecting class and community. And then this year, which was so exciting for us, but we did a virtual performance with two award-winning actors, Ed Asner and Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon of Red Orchid Theater, incredible local actor, also working in the wider world. And it was a 3-person play. The third person was the first professional opportunity for one of the graduates from our jail program.
Wow.
So it was a way for us to really live our work and create those bridges of expression and freedom for our participants.
I imagine that must have been life-changing for both the people in the jail and the people, that from Piven, to go through that and talk about that and have those types of big discussions. I'd like to ask you more about the Ed Asner as well, but we're going to have a short break. When we do come back, we're going to talk more about that, how you've adjusted, for the pandemic, and talk about the virtual and how you think that that's going to continue on as time goes on. And stick around. We'll be right back.
Moving day is a happy day, but how can you be sure all of your stuff will get to the new place in the same condition they left the old place? Upgrade your experience to First Class Moving and Storage. You'll get a team of professionals who treat all of your belongings with care and have the right tools to make the job go smoothly. They even offer a full packing service. Upgrade to First Class Moving and Storage. They're local and independently owned. For more info, visit the website at firstclassmovers.com. That's the number 1, stclassmovers.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the Skev. Speaking here with Jennifer Green from Piven Theater and Ellen Placey-Wadey from the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation. And before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about some of the programming that's been going on at the Piven Theater over the past year. And one of the programs that you're doing has been with Ed Asner. And I was mentioning in the break to Jen that a good friend of mine has a podcast called The Religion of Human Nature with Jeremy Fine, and he's going to be having an episode with Ed Asner on pretty soon. So check that out. But if you want to tell us a little bit about that, how did that all work?
It was so great. Ed has done some live work with us before, and he's just charming and funny, and the kind of actor that will stay after and meet every single person in the audience. Just such a generous, funny, life-affirming person. And then when we switched to virtual, all of us were juggling and trying to figure out how can we still offer our programming in this brand new form, and sort of flying an airplane as you're building it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He had a piece that was sort of perfect, a three-hander, political piece in which he played God, right? So, a perfect way to sort of use the Zoom bomb for God. And we did a really lovely evening that benefited the theater. And we were so generous. Everyone was so generous with their time. And it turned out to be funny and lovely and a great use of Zoom, right? There's something that's really intimate about Zoom and being able to be in the close-up. And that piece translated to Zoom so beautifully.
Well,
Though I can't wait to be in the same room with Ed again. He is funny and lovely, such a great person.
well, maybe soon. But I hear you with the intimacy, because when you're on Zoom and somebody's sitting on your counter, it brings it home, literally. But there is something to be said for being in person. But how do you envision these types of virtual things as we potentially go back to a more quote unquote normal lifestyle?
Well, I mean, we can't wait to have people in our space again, where people are able to see each other and be able, I mean, we get this beautiful close up, but our bodies communicate so much, and live theater is so much about being in the same place at the same time and transforming through story. And so we can't wait for that to happen. But we learned a lot of really important lessons from Zoom about finding ways that we can reach more people, finding people who live out of state but want to connect and tell stories and take theater classes together. And I would say the most important lesson that we learned, we have a performing group of adults who identify as neurodiverse. And what we did was we brought the rehearsals into Zoom. We brought the class into Zoom. And we were really afraid that it wasn't going to give the same kind of connection, and it wasn't going to operate as a good delivery system. And what we found from the feedback of our performers was that many people preferred it. Some of our actors who are nonverbal found greater agency using the chat function. Some of our performers that are physically disabled were able to jump in more, to share their voices more. So that's a class that I think will remain hybrid, because there's some people of the group who really want to come to the space, but there's this real diversity of creativity that happened in Zoom that did not happen when we were on site. So when we have successes like that, we really want to reflect and make sure that we're continuing to change and adapt. And as we're improviser, continue to learn from improvisation that we've done during this pandemic to continue to serve important populations.
It makes me think about like how we've created these digital selves of us, our own personas, and then we have our real physical in person. But like you're saying, like people who are neurodiverse, where they may have different things that make it more challenging in person. It's like, but you have this different persona, and it might give you more confidence to be able to do so. And, I look at my children I have a 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and what they've been able to do is play a lot of games like Roblox, for instance, where it's a whole virtual world and you can hang out with people anywhere, and you could play all these different games within the space. And there's even performances there. And I think that's a really interesting way of looking at what the world looks like, and how we combine that, how we hybrid it, is really the people who are going to figure out how to succeed in this new world. But is that something where you look at, and Ellen too, I mean, do you see that from other organizations that you work with, where maybe there's potential in these virtual world spaces?
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing this from a lot of the groups that we work with, and not only in theater, the dance community, which I think felt the most challenged when we went to virtual and went to Zoom, because it's such a body-based form. They've been able to figure out how to use the digital platforms. We were forced into a situation because of the pandemic, and we didn't have a choice. It was either try to stay connected through your audiences by going digital or go silent. And creatives are not good at being silent, thank goodness, and wanted to stay connected to people. So initially it was just utility, right? Like, this is something we can use to stay in contact with each other, not only with audiences, but with other artists, because that's really important, that creation that happens between creative people. But as a result of that, like Jen was saying, they've been able to engage audiences who might not have been able to come to their performance space for a variety of reasons. There was one theater was like, we've got people from Scandinavia tuning in. We have no idea how they found us. So I think it's going to be, instead of an either or, I think there's now this is a new tool. This is a new thing that can be part of the repertoire. And I think not only we'll see, there's nothing like live performance. There's no way to replicate that. But how do we use this new digital tool? And then I think we'll see, like, how do these two forms interact with each other? I think we'll see more digital in theater spaces. And I think we'll see a lot more creativity on the digital platforms.
One thing too that I think, everyone talks about equity and making things fair for people. And, maybe with the schools that you have, it may be hard for people to take their kids from one place to another, to the class, to this, to that. But if you open it up where you still have classes that are available remotely, where you don't need to worry about that, or somebody just lives too far to get somewhere, and maybe they're in a rural part of Illinois, just as an example, but they want to take a class at Piven, it creates more of these kinds of connections, and it makes it more available to everybody.
And what we found with our classes, especially for our youngest students, is to start thinking about their homes as site-specific theater places, right? So that it's not, oh, this is in place of a theater. It's, well, let's think about the way that we can use scavenger hunts to create object story lessons, right? There's a way that it gives the student more agency to bring who they are into the space in some ways that was really surprising to us, because there's something very tactile about our work, physical contact,
Sure.
Eye contact, and what could we replace that with? And we really sort of looked to creating environments within their own environment, as well as we found that kids really, really loved having whoever was in their house in their theater pieces. So it wound up creating multi-generational theater pieces. It wound up letting kids engage with parents in new ways. So there's something really valuable about what virtual could do that I feel like will give us a future with virtual, because it's still about that human contact.
Absolutely. And I think what's a critical thing too is that you talk about like the creativity, how you had to figure out how to do it. And I think that's one of the great reasons for the arts. It gives us the creativity to think outside the box. If everyone just thought, well, it's got to be this way, well, then we'd all pack up and nothing would have gotten done in the past year. But everyone had to figure it out and be creative and improvise. And improvisation, I think, is so key. I mean, do you guys see that, where the people who can improvise are the ones who can lead and come up with those different concepts and new ideas?
I think so. And I mean, I think that's why you see businesses and the corporate world bringing improv into their workplaces, so that people can use these techniques for creative ideation and flexible, fluid thinking in the business world. And I know for us, it was a consistent joke with us that we are improvisers, and this should have happened to us years ago. But for us to put all of these kinds of techniques into making something absolutely new. How do we keep our mission, right? But let it be 100% new. And we're really proud of that. I mean, it's been a really strange year for arts organizations. But I've seen the benefits be collaborations between arts organizations that had not happened in the past, collaborations between arts organizations, schools, and community leaders, finding new ways to connect and create.
Have you guys connected? Have you guys collaborated with other organizations?
Yeah, we have. I mean, one piece that we started working is in organizations that have been in lockdown. How can we serve communities in lockdown? And that could mean a school, that could mean a community center. I mean, one of the reasons why we did the Ed Asner piece was because we thought it would be something that would be portable and really interesting to people who are living in assisted care facilities, and for older Americans who just were unconnected and not being able to see their families depending on where they were living.
Well, that is really important. I'm sorry, but we're going to take one more break. When we come back, I want to talk more about where you see the next few months and when we can get back in person and actually be there for a performance together, because I really would like to do that. And so would a lot of us.
Mortgage rates have reached record lows recently. If you see homeownership in your future, the future is now. Think of Beth Lewis at Cross Country Mortgage as your personal mortgage shopper. She'll sort through racks and racks of home financing options until she finds exactly the right style and fit for you. She'll get you pre-approved to give you an advantage over other buyers, and she'll close your loan quickly with a highly efficient process driven by advanced mortgage technology. In 2020, Beth closed over $294 million in loans in 883 separate transactions. Beth will be here for you too, because helping people get mortgages is what she does best. Visit BethLewisTeam.com to get started. That's BethLewisTeam.com or call 847-274-9745. That's 847-274-9745. Cross Country Mortgage LLC, NMLS 3029, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing opportunity. Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee.
Welcome back, everyone. We've been talking with Jennifer Green from the Piven Theater and Ellen Placey-Wadey from the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation, all about the work that they've been doing, how it's been going the past year, and why the performing arts are so important to our society. One thing that I want to talk about is just, things look to be on the upside. Vaccinations are happening at a much more rapid pace. People are starting to be able to go and return to their normal lives in many ways. What do you guys think about, coming back in person? When do you think that's going to take place? And how are you going to tell when it's right?
Well, a number of the groups that we're talking with, it is great that vaccinations are happening. And I think, what we can see now is a shoreline that for a long time we just kind of felt adrift and we weren't sure when that shore was going to show up. One thing that is kind of seasonal about Chicago anyways is usually in the summertime, if there are performances, they tend to be outside and it's a little lighter schedule because on a normal year, we want to be outside because it's the best time to live in this part of the country.
Yeah.
But, thinking about this year, even more so, like, I think when people are like, I can be outside and be with other people, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So the timeline that I'm hearing mostly is that organizations are looking to kind of go back to their regular schedules in the fall, but also keeping in mind that all of the organizations are being so incredibly responsible and really making sure, like, they're watching out for their audience's safety as much as those people who are thinking about going to performances are doing it. So, there's still some things to unfold, but again, I think we see a shoreline now, and it's just a matter of how long before we can get there.
Yes. Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds positive. Jen, what are you thinking for Piven?
Well, Piven, all of our classes have been 100% virtual. So the summer is a transition for us to have our classes back on site. So we are going to create those opportunities for social, emotional learning and engagement on site. And then as we move into the fall, look at what best practices are going to be, because health and safety is our number one priority for audience members, for our performers, for our stage managers, for our teachers, and see what we can do. I mean, for many of us with smaller theaters, we have a 70-seat house. Social distancing is nearly impossible. So we have to make sure that when we put on that first show, we are able to have the kind of audience who can feel safe, as well as the numbers for us to be able to afford to do theater. The thing about theater is it is an expensive, ephemeral form. And it only exists when an audience is really in front of it. So we've got to make some really smart choices. But we have decided that our next theme, since we went into the pandemic with the theme of resilience and have been trying to live that truth, we're hoping that as we move out of it, our theme is going to be transformation, because that's what we're hoping for everyone on a personal level, on a social level, on a political level, is to find those transformations for what's next.
Yeah. I mean, to talk about what's next, I mean, do you think that your theater is going to change a lot, let's say in the next 5 years, or by taking these things that you've learned?
I hope so. I hope every single thing that we've gone through allows our organization and all organizations to find the strength and resilience to create new programming, to tell new stories, and to keep the arts central, which is so important. I mean, for a young person, for someone who's going to the theater as an audience member, knowing that every person's voice is important and essential is something that's very unique to theater. We want to make sure that those kinds of interactions and engagement continue.
And I think it's one of the things that small organizations really bring to the table. They're so flexible and they're so responsive that they are always engaged in like the conversations of the time. They're always interested in what's happening in the world. And so I think we're going to see that reflected clearly for the next few years. And also I think we're going to see hopefully joyous performances as well. Everybody's looking for some happy right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's going to be part of it too.
I want some comedy, just some, it's been hard to laugh throughout this year because things are just so serious but something light would be wonderful. I can't watch anything on TV that's too serious. It freaks me out. And I think that's just a reflection of just like people don't want to deal with more anxiety. And I think it'll be nice to have theater to like just go and chill out and not think about what's going on in your own life right then. But in terms of like the classes and things like that, any age can take it?
Our classes are open enrollment. They're open to anyone, child, adult, virtual, on-site, in a community. There's nothing more flexible than theater as an art form. It opens doors for any person, any age. And we make sure that our classes can be underwritten so that families who might not be able to afford a class, and I think a lot of families are hitting some very tough times, making sure that we are able to have classes available for all people. But yeah, you could sign up. Right? I got a class for you. We're doing outside adult classes starting in the spring.
I love it.
Which should be a gas because, people who don't know Evanston well, the Noyes Cultural Arts Center sits on a beautiful park,
yes, right
off the L train, so easy to get to. And, a summer afternoon, evening with the sun setting, there's no more inspirational place to do a little theater, have some fun. Have laughter, have people to come together.
I love it. So where can people find out more and support both organizations? So Jen?
Piventheater.org has all information about our classes, about our performances, as well as a donate now button. For so many organizations, half of our funding is earned. Half of our funding comes from donations, either fabulous family foundations, but it's really that those individuals who say, yes, I feel like I can support this theater that is in my neighborhood, that speaks to my community. And there's nothing more valuable than people visiting that site, seeing what we do, coming out for what we do, and then finding that way to give back. Because every dollar that we get, and this is true of all small organizations, if you give us a nickel, we'll give a dime back, We put every ounce of effort into doing the best that we can for our community.
I love it. People should go support you and your organization. And Ellen, if you could tell us where people can go just in the next few seconds here.
Sure. Our website is gddf.org. So if you're a small arts organization, you can learn more about us there. And I would also say we have a list of the organizations that we support on our website. So if you're looking for a place to go and you're trying to figure out like what's a good recommendation, I would say check out the list. We've got a lot of good folks on there.
Sounds good. Thanks to you both for joining me today. And stick around for the Hannah and Fred show and learn more at skevinson.com. But everyone have a great week. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this latest episode of Inside the Skev. To listen live, tune in Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. to WCGO. That's 95.9 FM, 1590 AM, WCGOradio.com, or you can go to Facebook Live on WCGO's page or Inside the Skev. If you want to learn more about this great neighborhood or what I do, go to skevinson.com. And I want to thank every supporter of the show and all my listeners. Thanks so much.